swish. Baby king grant my wish. If I pick you up like...
Welcome back, NBA family, to the Shoot the J channel. Thank you for tapping in and showing some love. The second round of the NBA playoffs has been well underway, and I've been big lacking. So we're here for the mid-series update. The conference finals are soon to start, so let's get into it. All right, so heading to the East, we're going to hit the Eastern Conference Finals soon, where the Knicks will be awaiting the winner of the Cavs and Pistons series. First off, New York dominates once again, 4-0 in the series against the 76ers after having big success against the Hawks. They dump the Hawks in 6 games, and they avoid Boston because the 76ers completed that 3-1 comeback. They sent, all those losers like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Derek White straight to Cancun, all just to get fucking obliterated in 4 games. Now, the Knicks have put themselves in a position in the Eastern Conference Finals, but will they be able to follow through and make it to the NBA Finals? After they did have the chance last year against the Pacers, everybody was super hyped. They thought it was New York's year. Is it New York's year again, or are they just disappointing as always? That being said, their best chance is now. They have some pretty good competition to go up against, whether it's the Pistons or the Cavs. It should be easier than going up against some people like Boston, and tonight may not be enough to stop Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns is averaging about 19 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists in the playoffs. This year, I believe that's a season high for him, playoffs-wise, to be throwing out 6, dishes out for all of his teammates. He's got 2 blocks per game. Cat is a force to be reckoned with, and we'll have to see if anybody in the East or West can handle all that size down there. Meanwhile, Jalen Brunson is averaging about 28 points, I believe 6 assists on very good efficiency, especially for Jalen Brunson. He usually, averages sub-40s, but he's about 50, 40, 90-ish. He's getting close to there. He's definitely trying to clutch out for this team. He's put the team on his back before to put them in great positions. I think this team is as well constructed as it can be in the East. They should have a cakewalk to the finals. One last note on the Knicks that I didn't want to leave out and give some respect to them is that their last 6 out of 7, don't make any jokes about that, games were blowouts, like complete blowouts. I'm talking about 25-plus point games. Some of them were like 40, 50 points during the game, but they've had, some would say, an easy run in the East, but they're also just... they don't even really need to compete right now. So will this follow through all the way to the finals? We shall see. I ended up changing wardrobe because I don't have any jerseys to relate to teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers or the Detroit Pistons. So we're going to have to work with what we got. But the Pistons are in their second real playoff run with this court. That being said, I need to get more jerseys. But the Pistons are doing well this year with their core. Obviously made the first seed in the East, kind of just dominated all the way through. It wasn't even close. I don't think anybody really touched them on that side. But this is their second real year of a playoff run with this core, and let me just say it's been rocky. It has been ASAP very rocky. Jalen Duren is cheeks. Cade Cunningham is doing absolutely all that he can after coming back from the collapsed lung. I mean, I'm surprised he's really putting up all these numbers, but their offense is absolutely anemic. Their offensive rating has dropped by 10 points from the regular season into the playoffs at this point. Will that be enough to see them through past Harden and Donovan Mitchell with the Cleveland Cavaliers? Or are the Cavaliers the playoff chokers we always know them to be for the past couple years, even with adding James Harden, who did have some clutch games in this series right now? Back onto the Cavs side of the conversation. Will they finally hit an Eastern Conference Finals after 6 years of having this main core with the whole Donovan Mitchell in the mix, drafting Evan Mobley later, getting Jared Allen, and throwing together some assets like Darius Garland to land a James Harden on their team, having Max Strus on the bench? It seems like they have what they need in an easier Eastern Conference to take the cake. but they may just disappoint once again. Now, what's very interesting about this series that I like to look into is that the Pistons are the number 1 seed this year. The Cavs were the number 1 seed last year. Cavs got upset last year, 1-4, disappointing their very great regular season. Could the Pistons do the same this season? Will history repeat itself? It would be interesting to see the Cavs just in the Eastern Conference Finals, even if they don't make the finals. It's basically 2016 all over again, but the Warriors aren't here. Instead, the Warriors are the Thunder. We'll have to see what Wemby does about that, but we'll speak about that later. That being said, this series is very fun to watch. It's almost an absolute cinema series. I wouldn't say that because the Spurs series has been fantastic. This is a great series to watch. I think it's going to be a hard-fought series. I'm taking the Cavs in 7 games. They're going to game 7, and the Pistons are frauds. The Cavs are taking it home, and they're probably getting knocked out by the Knicks in the next series. But now it's time to talk about the best franchise in NBA history, the San Antonio Spurs. First, we must speak about Wembanyama. Wembanyama is an absolute game changer in the playoffs. I said in my last video, he's a playoff riser. He's once again a playoff riser. He is changing everything on the defensive side. Nobody wants to drive. Everybody on the Wolves can't even get a bucket inside. They're hitting some good jump shots. They're really moving the ball. They're playing a great series. You know, that's a 3-2 lead. It's definitely a close series, clearly, even with all the implications that happen in this series. Anthony Edwards coming back early in the series from an injury. He's still, you know, kind of feeling the knee, but he's having some clutch games this series. It's cinema, absolute cinema to watch this series. It's been such a joy to watch. Game 1 was such a blessing, and then you know, Julian Champagnie misses a 3-point shot at the end of the game, but still a great game to watch. I want to say game 2 was the Spurs blowout. If I check my notes here, games 1, 3, and 4 were very close games. Games 2 and 5 were blowout wins for the Spurs, including their most recent win. They do go to game 6 in Minnesota for the next game. I do think everything is going to be tough for them regardless. Can't go without saying that De'Aaron Fox really has been showing up when necessary. De'Aaron Fox can either bail this team out completely by making some shots or completely sink the ship by missing the shots. It seems like NBA Twitter, at least on the Spurs side, flip-flops every single other day. You know, Fox, get rid of Fox, trade Fox. We have Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle, or, you know, we need him. He saved us this game. He's our veteran presence. I think he plays his role on this team. He's showing out in the playoffs. I like how the Spurs look right now. I think the Spurs go to Minnesota. They win it in 6. If they don't, it's going to be looking spooky back in San Antonio. It's going to be looking spooky, but I do think they win it in 6. I think they've got the momentum. I think they've cracked the code. Greg Popovich is the greatest basketball mind that has ever lived. I don't know what words or what wisdom he could have managed to say at 70-something years old, but Wemby heard it. The whole Spurs team heard it. They knew exactly what to do to try to take the Wolves out in this series. Dylan Harper is having an insane rookie playoff run in his sample size. He's coming off the bench completely and averaging 14 points, 5 assists, great efficiency. You know, him and Keldon Johnson are just murdering any bench that they're playing against. I like those chances against the Thunder, now that I bring that up when it comes to the bench scoring, because that'll be spoken about later. But, you know, the team looks really good, and Rudy Gobert is just getting scorched. We've seen it before in other playoff runs against the Nuggets and Jokic and stuff like that. I mean, they beat them this year, but other times, this is not the first time we've seen Rudy get obliterated, but this one-on-one, I mean, it's just barbecue chicken. Straight, like, feast for Victor Wembanyama right now when he sees him in the paint. Naz Reid is really key against the small lineups that the Spurs have. The Spurs don't have any power forwards outside of Harrison Barnes and Julian Champagnie. They don't really have any size over there. They match up well against the Thunder, but I did say that in my previous video. The Wolves, this has been tough. That being said, like I said, the Spurs close out in 6. Spurs in 6, baby. And And even with that, as I go away from the mic, y'all can barely hear me. They'll be seeing this team next. Now on to the Western Conference Finals. We speak upon the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are awaiting the winner of what will supposedly be the Spurs after obliterating the Los Angeles Lakers in a 4-0 sweep. Will LeBron retire? Where will Bronny James go this summer? These are all questions that everybody's having right now after they just deleted the Lakers off of the face of the earth right now. OKC is unstoppable as expected. Granted, they've had some fairly weak competition earlier, playing the Buns and playing the Lakers, but what can you say? OKC has been playing what's in front of them, and they are dominating in the fashion that everybody expected, even without Jalen Williams or J-Dub. We have other players picking up the slack like A.J. Mitchell. You got Jared McCain, which, like I said, was another freebie from the 76ers. Daryl Morey just got fired yesterday, by the way, for that, because he's a terrorist, as James Harden once said. Prophesized, I would say. But Jared McCain is absolutely lighting him up off the bench. It seems like every player on the Thunder is better than every other player that they just played in the last two series. That will not be the case in the Spurs series. Why? Because the Spurs have their number. This is enough talk about the Lakers and the Suns. They were absolute garbage. The Thunder got their cakewalk because they were the first seed. Clearly, they deserved it. But, SGA hasn't even needed to be exemplary in these series because the team is so well put together. You have three different players averaging 20-plus points per game this playoff series, and you have other players that are averaging double digits, so it's just a full team effort. OKC will need all hands on deck in this series against the Spurs. Jalen Williams will need to come back as soon as possible. The Spurs clearly have OKC's number, and any matchup against Chet is personal for Victor Wembanyama. The Spurs will dissect them in the most entertaining series in years in the playoffs, but this is not going to be an easy series for either team. You have the current champions looking to repeat in another championship versus a young, hungry team with their first real chance at playoff success, having their first run in the playoffs and making the Western Conference Finals already. They can make the finals. Can they win the championship? And San Antonio goes crazy. That being said, before I speak, if the Timberwolves do make it to this next series against the Thunder, I think it's a shame for everybody in the NBA. They'll be very tired after a 7-game series. And I don't think Anthony Edwards will be able to overcome, people like Lou Dort coming in, breaking his arm and breaking his leg, and every other player just chopping his shit up and putting 3 defenders on him, because OKC just... This is Israeli-ass team in the NBA right now. Like, nobody fucks with them this year. Nobody wants to see another copy-paste championship. Nobody wants to see the flopper SGA win another championship. The Wolves went 2-2 against OKC during the regular season, split their series. The Spurs went 4-1 against OKC in this season. Will those pay dividends in the playoffs? Who knows? Everything's unpredictable. But I do think if they don't have J-Dub, the Spurs have the upper hand there. The clear upper hand there. And they can take it in 6 games. We will all see what unfolds in these playoffs. The basketball gods this year blessed us with some great playoff series. I'll be making another video probably in about a week for the mid-conference finals update for the East and West altogether, as well as some draft banter for the lottery, because 2 teams won big in this lottery with the Washington Wizards and the Utah Jazz. Congratulations. Nonetheless, thank you guys for watching, and if you made it to this part of the video, you are an absolute real one. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, run it all up. Thanks for coming through. Peace.